Good morning. So good to see you all again. All right, we're going to go through an entire treatment. We're going to put together the techniques that you've been learning and how you actually use them in a flow. Okay? Then after you see it, then we're going to go back and break down in how you organize. I'm using our 3 hand positions, our knife hand, cup hand, basic thumb position. Okay? The key thing is all of them are gentle arcs and I don't bend any individual joint. The first joint you bend is the first joint you injure. Okay? And then I can do what's called supported hand positions. Supported thumb is the drop fingers are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can bring and support a digit with one underneath it, particularly if someone's double jointed. Okay? Or I can support it on both sides, sort of like when you do with your kids and you say, I've got your nose. All right? Okay? The other way of supporting is to work with the top finger working through the bottom one, through the nail. So I put my 3 on top of 2. The finger that is the digit that is actually doing the vector is the top one. And I do it right through the bottom one. Okay? And the third way to support is just to literally put one hand or one digit on top of the other. Again, the one that works, the one that makes the actual treatment, angle, and pressure is the top one. Okay? And that's going to go right through. It does not matter to the patient or client which hand position you use. It matters to you as the therapist that you not injure yourself. So you need to have all the hand positions as part of the tools in your toolbox. Okay, 1 pressure is the weight of a small coin. Okay, 5 is the pressure that when you lean and you look at your nail bed, if the white extends under the pressure extends all the way to the nail, that's pressure level 5. Okay, 1, you'll see no change at all. 2, slight change. 3 will be about approximately halfway across the nail. 4, 3/4 of the way, and 5 all the way across the nail. Okay. So yesterday we went through the occipital release. We come in the cervical curve. We lift with our 4 or 5 fingers. We make sure and angle the chin up. Okay. Then we use our 3, 4 fingers just lateral to the occipital notch. No tension in the forearms, no tension in the hands. And then we're going to do 30 seconds. So after I've done 30 seconds, I'm going to cross fiber. Remember, 4 lines on the neck, the lamina groove on the posterior, just lateral to the spinous processes of the neck. Then the other 3 lines are defined by the sternocleidomastoid mastoid muscle. The posterior aspect is line 2. The belly, which is the first point you touch when you bring your finger in from the side, is line 3. The anterior aspect of the SCM is line 4. Okay. The beginning treatment for beginners when they're first starting out is to just do vertical pressure on the line, point by point. So for line 1, and remember the yang meridians are on the posterior, the yin meridians are on the anterior, so the direction of the posterior or yang meridians is from superior to inferior or down the back. The yin meridians are from inferior to superior or up the front. Okay? So if I was going to do a beginning style treatment, I can do it on both lines simultaneously, but I have to remember to absolutely not use forearm tension in either arm. I raise my elbows, I drop my body weight on line 1, I maintain for 5 seconds, then to release the pressure, I don't let my arms collapse, I just lift my elbows, slide my 1 soon inferior, and then drop my elbows to apply the pressure again. Okay. So I do that all the way until I get to the next bone. So it would look like sort of in fast motion. Okay, remember each one of these points is going to be at least 5 seconds of duration. I'm going to go quickly just for the video until I get to the bone. Then line 2, which is the posterior aspect of the SCM, and I raise my elbows, bring my pressure down. Never using any forearm tension. Always keeping the back of my hand aligned with my arm. Okay. Line 3 is the belly. Here I can switch to thumbs so that I can use supported finger or thumb to go on line 3, which is the belly of the SCM. 5 seconds, again raising my elbows to release the pressure. Going down until I reach the clavicles. The key thing with line 4, which is the anterior aspect of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, is that my vector needs to be posterior and slightly lateral. This is so your hands do not collapse in and occlude or block the carotid artery. Okay? Which is the carotid artery is right between the larynx or voice box and the anterior aspect of the SCM. So I'm going to use cup hands. Again, my vector posterior, slightly lateral. Point by point. Follow the muscle until I get to the clavicle. Now that's the beginner treatment, point by point, a pressure level of 3 to 5. Okay, I'm going to cross fiber using our infinity sign. Okay? And remember to keep the back of your hand on line with your arm at all times. We're going to turn our hands over at line 3 to get to line 4. And then as we go posterior, we're going to turn our hand over. And we accomplish that by moving the elbow. So the arm moves as a unit. Okay? We don't want to get any kind of this floppy stuff going on. Okay? That's what's going to injure you and get you into trouble with carpal tunnel and thoracic outlet syndromes. Okay? So I'm going to cross fiber all the way from bone to bone, which means I go from the mandible, the jawbone, all the way to the clavicle, the collarbone. From the mastoid process of the temporal bone behind the ear, all the way to the scapula. Okay? Many of the difficulties that happen in, like resulting in car accidents, motor vehicle accidents, sports injuries, severe falls, whether on ice or from a ladder, okay, they're going to end up, the imbalances that we need to deal with will be lurking right around the bone. So beginning students often tend to like to do what I call the sexy middle. They like to do the easy to find part. Okay? Remember that you have to go all the way to the bone and look carefully so that you find all of the mini zones that are dealing with the condition that you're dealing with. So I cross fiber like this, and it's all a weight shift. Never any forearm tension. Okay? So I go all the way to the bone, skipping over the Julie. By the way, this is my wife, Tori, who has graciously volunteered to be the model for this treatment. Okay, I find the mini zones. Remember, mini zones are areas of tension, okay, that are more hypercontracted than the tissue immediately surrounding. Okay? And those can be anywhere from 1 to 3 sun or centimeters wide, and anywhere from 1 to 8 centimeters or sun long. Sun is a Chinese unit of measurement, which is approximately the width of one of your client's fingers. Okay? It's very close to a centimeter, okay, on average. So I find mini zones, they're going to be 2 to 3 per side. Now, the intermediate way of treating is I'm going to do our infinity sign crossfiber and look for mini zones. So I'm going to start in my line 1. I locate the spinaceous processes of the neck. I find the lamina groove. I use my cup hand. I cross fiber, and I come all the way to the 4th line. And then I return. When I find a hypercontracted area that is more contracted than the tissue around it, I then need to define the size of that mini zone. It can be up to 1 to 3 by 1 to 8. Okay? So 1 to 1 is simply the end of your finger. 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, up to 1 by 8, and then it can be up to 3 wide. So the biggest mini zone you're ever going to see is going to be 3 by 8.